Tesla stock has seen massive declines over the past couple of days, down 13% yesterday, up a little bit today at 5%. And it's been in a pretty tough position, down 70% year to date, sitting at $109 right now, market cap of $344 billion. At its peak, it was $1.2 trillion, so it's down about $700 billion in market cap. Now, even though this is happening, there are shareholders that were advocating for Tesla and have been consistently advocating for Tesla for a long time. These are people that betted on the stock back in 2016, 2017, 2018. These are people that have rode it all the way up, made a lot of money for their clients, especially these institutional fund managers. And these are people that are now really annoyed. Really, really annoyed. People that can't take Elon, people that are so annoyed at the $44 billion that he spent on Twitter, and people that are really feeling that their life's work, the mission, the ability for them to build a brand as a like rock star hedge fund manager, because there's a lot of people that manage hedge funds and ETFs. Like there's a ton of them, at least in the United States, probably, obviously all over the world, there's a lot more people. Not all of them have a personal brand like a Cathie Wood that are able to make billions of dollars in fees by raising that much money and having it under capital. The way you raise that much money is you have a good story and you show results that are a bit more unconventional, that are better than the S&P's 8%, even better than 15-20% year over year. Ross Gerber is one of those people that built his brand off of Tesla, just like Cathie Wood built her brand off of Tesla. And he is a rock star institutional fund manager that gets a lot of attention, 310,000 followers on Twitter. I said Twitter. Oh, goodness gracious. Right. This is what he said yesterday. Ross Gerber says, these are all short-term issues. Things will work themselves out. Maybe Elon ends up working for Tim after all. And then he cash tags Apple and Tesla. Interesting. Well, when we talk about Tim, we're talking about Tim Cook. We're not talking about Tim Apple. And Tim Apple and Tim Cook are the same people. If you guys remember, Trump called him Tim Apple, which is hilarious. But he's talking about Tim Cook. Now remember, Tim Cook, or Elon Musk, wanted Tim Cook and Apple to buy out Tesla in 2018. He asked for a meeting. That's when Tesla was really struggling. Tesla was in a bad position. Elon Musk did not know if they were going to survive or they were going to make it. The fact that they even survived, he says, is absolutely absurd. He asked Apple for a meeting. Tim Cook didn't return the call. He was not interested in thinking of buying Tesla, which may be one of the worst decisions he's made as a CEO. Apple historically doesn't really make that many big acquisitions. They more so innovate. So maybe he wanted to build their own car. Maybe he wanted to innovate. But most people give Tim Cook a lot of flack. I don't, because I think he brought the company from like 500 billion to 2.5 trillion. He did a pretty good job for shareholders, but he hasn't really innovated per se in any sense outside of like AirPods or an Apple Watch. Now, someone says, why would you say this, Ross? Please explain. Ross responds, Apple has failed. Let me just zoom in on this. Apple has failed to get into the EV market for years. Finally, Apple Music makes it to the Tesla screen. Imagine the whole Apple ecosystem in a Tesla. Apple with $2 trillion in cash, or Apple is a $2 trillion company with cash. Tesla's $350 billion in terms of the market cap and accredited for earnings. And if Tim Cook would bid $500 billion, this could work. But Tim is not aggressive. There you have one of Tesla's most avid shareholders, avid fund managers arguing that Tesla at a $350 billion market cap should get a $500 billion offer by Tim Cook and Apple Incorporated. And as a result of that, Tesla might sell in a horrible economic environment that we're getting into to Apple for a measly $500 billion and end up working with Apple after all, like they should have in 2018. Now, Tim Cook not taking that call in 2018 was the best thing ever for Tesla shareholders, because since 2018, well, let's look at it right now. I mean, the stock has done pretty damn well since 2018. Let's go to a max chart. 2018, the stock was at $19. At its peak, it went to $4.14. So that's a little bit more than a 10x, right? So like the stock really, really did well. Now, even at $109, if you bought in at 2018, you're still up close to about 5x. You're about, you're at $109 right now. So even if you bought in at $28, I mean, if you sold anywhere along here, you made a lot of money, like just a lot of freaking money. And so Ross Gerber was one of those people that was in that situation. And now he's asking for, or potentially flirting with the idea that Apple should buy Tesla. Here's a couple of reasons why I think this is a horrible idea and why, I just don't think this is going to work out. Number one is Tesla has the potential to be much more bigger than Apple. And I'm not even going to get into the cars argument. I'm not even going to get into the margins and the tech and FSD and all this stuff. I'm going to get into one argument: energy. Tesla Energy is growing for 80% year over year, and it is still not profitable right now. It's still, it's still a significantly small part of the business. But let's just assume Tesla Energy works out, just as a base case assumption. Everything in the world needs energy. not everyone in the world needs an iPhone or a Mac or an iPad. These are important products, but they're not as important as energy. Now, the argument is not that like Tesla energy just takes over the world. The argument is, where is the world going to in terms of energy? Is oil and gas going to be more important than renewable solar, air, wind, the type of energy that Tesla is creating? In the next 50 years, oil and gas will still be relevant, but it will start to phase out eventually. I mean, we just don't have that much more oil and gas. Like, eventually we've got to create energy from somewhere else in terms of our species to survive. That's where Tesla comes in. Just as a pure energy play, I think the reason I'm saying energy and focusing on that primarily is because Elon Musk said that Tesla can be more valuable than Saudi Aramco and Apple combined. If that's the case, that growth has to come from somewhere. And I think it wouldn't just come from selling more cars because, they make an amazing car, but there's going to be competition. I think it would have to come from some other division that would be something like energy. And so, like, just based on that alone, if you're someone like Ross Gerber that's been long the stock and you're bullish on the company, you're bullish on Elon, you're bullish purely on the fundamentals. They didn't buy the stock because of Elon. They bought the stock because the fundamentals are like amazing for Tesla. 50% growth rate over the past couple of years. If they go 5 years at another 50% year-over-year growth rate, that's just absolutely insane in terms of what they're going to be able to do, as long as they keep their margins uptight as well. So if that's the case, if you bought Tesla because of the fundamentals, you have to look at some of the overarching parts of the business that are still immature and how they could one day be more valuable than every other company in the world, because the world is going to renewable solar and Tesla is one of those companies that's actually creating the energy to be able to fuel that. So that's the first reason. Second is FSD, right? Like Tesla, Elon Musk said the difference between Tesla being worth zero and a lot is FSD. These are his words, not mine. So if that's the case, if the reason Tesla is going to be worth anything is because they figure out full self-driving and they eliminate many of the problems that exist with human driving, and they unlock this fleet of robotaxis, which, by the way, I've never been like the most bullish on. I think it might happen, might not happen. But if it does happen, that is going to unlock trillions of dollars of value and massive levels of productivity, something that Apple will not be able to keep up with. People have to remember, Apple's probably not going to be making iPhone 56. I mean, they're going to have to innovate. And what if the AR headsets are not a hit? What if people don't care about that? What if people stop caring about Macs and iPads? This is a reason why Apple's been rumored to be working on a car, because cars could be the next S curve for them. It's why they're doubling down on advertising and services, because that's their next S curve, because their products are already so good and it's hard to keep innovating on these products at the end of the day. So when you've got something like Tesla that has barely reached an inflection point in terms of cars that can be sold, energy business still immature, FSD can unlock trillions of dollars of value, there is no reason why $500 billion should be the market cap on the potential of this company. If you think it is a company that is greater than a car company, if you think it's just a car company, then $500 billion is probably too expensive for Apple to be buying them for. They should be buying them for cheaper than that. But if they're just a car company, if they're more than a car company, if they're a tech company, then the potential for them to be bought out for a measly $500 billion is laughable. And so I think Ross Gerber put this out there to get under Elon's skin a little bit. Like, hey man, I'm a shareholder, your stock is dying, and we wouldn't want to get the noise running about you having to sell. And granted, I don't think I don't think anyone in the board would ever want Elon to sell just for a measly $500 billion, because if you're part of the Tesla mission, is because you're in it for a much, much bigger thing for humanity. Like, you're there to stop climate change. That's a very big goal. That's worth a lot of money. And in a bad macroeconomic environment, you've got to give the company a little bit of grace to get through that. And so I think it's an interesting theory by Ross Gerber. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that this makes any sense? Do you think Apple buying it for $500 billion actually works out? Do you think Tim Cook would even buy a CEO that is tweeting every day the most politically incorrect things, telling people about their testicles, as Elon Musk tweeted last night? I don't think Tim Cook or Apple want to be associated with that. So I don't think this would ever happen, but even Ross flirting the idea out there makes probably a lot of shareholders think that it could happen, but I ultimately, at the end of the day, think it's not going to happen, nor should it happen, given the potential of Tesla. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for listening and watching. I will see you in the next one.